Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is up, Lock Shoppers? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Lock Shop. Huss with you. Dusty off again today. Expect him back tomorrow. But always fun making it a three-man booth today with Patty Gregoire and Jake Boland-Moss from Coolbet. You can give them follows on Twitter at @PGreggy and at Jake Boland-Moss. And make sure you're following at Coolbet Canada for Lock Shop plays of the day that usually come out about an hour or so before the hockey slate gets going. Great to see you both. What's going on, Patty? Feeling any better today than you were yesterday? Every day gets easier after this, I think.
Well, it's like the breakup, right? Where you at first you're sad, then you get angry, and then you start to think clearly. Not at the third part yet. I'm more at the angry stage and thinking what needs to happen. And I feel like I let off a few guys a little bit too easy yesterday. Stephon Diggs with the big drop. I think I was hard on him, but probably not hard enough. I think that it's clear that, going into the draft next year, a number one target has to be what has to happen. I think you got to clear space up with Diggs, get rid of that bad contract of Von Miller. And ultimately, you got to look hard in the mirror. And I said it yesterday, Sean McDermott's got to be gone. But I don't think he's going to.
Is that, yeah.
So what else do
you... That's kind of, I'm surprised that's, well, listen, I'm sure they're going to be doing some introspection. Just quickly on Diggs before we get to Jake. Like Diggs, talented receiver, yes. We all remember how he left Minnesota. He talks a lot. He seems to be a difficult guy to have around at times. And then he has that massive drop. And of all the times where he doesn't want to talk, refuse to speak to the media afterwards. Yeah. Not a great look for 14, Pat.
No, not at all. And I, you know what? I'll give it. Again, it's tough after those losses. Guys are running hot. Guys are emotional. When you wear a C, when you're the number one receiver, you're one of the guys that has to face the music and talk to the reporters. I know I'm not trying to put Big J journos on a pedestal because let's be honest, I don't think we need to at this point, but that's a part of your, if you want to be a leader, if you want to be the guy, you got to answer. And especially the fact that he made that big drop, one of three huge deep drops that ended ultimately was a big difference. Just leads me to believe that, this is not a guy that probably should be wearing a C. And let's be honest, I think his attitude has changed over the years. Like, I do believe a lot of the stigma that was around him, the diva, he still is a diva. A lot of these wide receivers are diva, and you want some of your big guys, your wide receivers, to have a little bit of diva in them, right? You want that. You want them to have it. You want them to believe that they're the best receiver in the league. But when you're not putting up those numbers, that's become where it becomes a detriment. And I think before it becomes a problem, it's probably better that you cut ties. And I know his brother is going to be sending out cryptic tweets all offseason. Why not trade him to the Cowboys? Why not send him with his brother? Get a pick in return. Get what you can, because
perfect Cowboy.
He would be.
Let's put him in on that.
I like what we've got out of Steph Diggs. I have no ill will against him. I just think the contract stinks now. He's not going to get any better. And clearly, the way that this offense is being run, they need a deep threat. And I don't know if Stephon Diggs is that guy anymore. So the Stephon Diggs era might be done in Buffalo, but again, that contract is tough to deal with. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get rid of a guy. But again, that's just one player. Where was the D line? Again, we don't need to dive into this, but where was the D line? Where was it? They were the only healthy unit. The linebacking core was held up by paper mache. AJ Klein was literally planning a vacation with his family 2 weeks ago to hop in a bus and head to the West Coast. And that changed. And you look at the secondary, completely injured. The one part of the defense that had no injuries, that was playing healthy, was the D-line, and they got absolutely sunned against the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs. So again, we're not going to get into it too much, but again, yesterday I was sad. Yesterday I was giving you your flowers, as you should get them, for the Chiefs. The better team won. But now today, as I'm doing more deep diving, looking into what needs to be happened, I don't think this is like the window is closed. As long as 17's under center, the window is open for the Buffalo Bills. The issue isn't about them building the team. It's about getting over the hump with Patrick Mahomes. And ultimately, you could build as good as a roster as you want. It might get to a point where you only have one or two chances to beat this guy. And I think one of those chances was really just slipped through their fingers, and
yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Now, AFC teams right now, when you look around at all the elite quarterbacks, I mean, it's a golden age right now, especially in that conference.
Yeah.
And Jake, I mean, you went from 20 years of Brady to now this rebuilding, moving on, new head coach. Must be strange. You're just looking at the lines on games and probably doing some draft prep for the upcoming draft.
Yeah, interested to see what direction they plan on going. If they're going to move up, or
where do you guys pick?
3.
Well, that's crazy. The Patriots picking 3rd overall.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I'm happy about a top 3 pick, but do you want to sell the future and go get a guy like Caleb Williams at number 1? Do you want to sit back, see who comes off the board, and wait for, a Jaden Daniels? Pat shaking his head. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know what you want to do. I think you want a quarterback, but maybe this isn't the year. Maybe you're waiting. Maybe you're hoping. What do you think, Pat?
I'm sorry for popping in here, but one, I think if Daniels is there, maybe you take him at 3. It's probably going to be Drake May, and Drake May. How much difference is Drake May from a guy like Sam Howell? I think they're very similar. Obviously, easy, lazy comparison with the school and whatnot. But Marvin Harrison Jr., if he's available at 3, you're an absolute moron not to take him, because I think you can have an average to good quarterback that will be fine if you have Marvin Harrison Jr. as your wide receiver. I truly do believe that. And like you said, why waste a pick on a guy that you're not quite too sure if he can be that guy? Because honestly, Caleb Williams, yes, he's got everything that you want in a quarterback. But how many times have we seen these raw guys that have all the tools end up falling flat on your face? Why not just go with the best player available in this draft? Probably the biggest layup of them all, which is Marvin Harrison Jr. Get him. Let's be honest, Jake, even if you do get a guy like Caleb Williams or Jalen Daniels, the team's still going to stink next year. There's a good chance you might get a good quarterback in the draft next year. I just think when you look at MHJ, he's such a stud. He is probably one of the best receiving prospects that we've had in the past decade.
Oh, for sure.
I think they'd be crazy, absolutely crazy, not to take him at 3 and just go with the best quarterback option on the board. You're getting the 3rd best quarterback at that point, most likely.
Yeah, no, listen, I hear you.
Why not just go with the best player in the draft? Because I truly believe that, of course, quarterbacks are so much valued more. No doubt. It's football. They're the most important position. If you got a good quarterback, you probably got a pretty good team. You need it. You need it. The days of having a mid quarterback and winning a Super Bowl, it's just not happening anymore. Huss just talked about the talent in the AFC alone. You need an elite quarterback. But even if you do have an elite quarterback, you still need elite receivers. So is Drake May going to be great? I don't know. Maybe. Is Daniels going to be great? I don't know. He was one of the best players in college football last year. I mean, he won the Heisman. Is Williams going to be that guy? Those 3 guys there, one of them's probably going to hit. Let's be
Well,
honest.
and
One of them is
Jake,
probably going to hit.
you know what? You know what's
One of them's probably going to hit.
You know what? You know what's crazy to me, and why there's so much intrigue about this draft with the Patriots pick, the Bears, of course, at number 1, is how much trading down there could be, because those early picks, like even at 3, for a team that wants Harrison Jr., I think the ability to gain big time draft capital by moving up and maybe getting a quarterback that led like later in the first round might be able to add more young talent to a Patriots team that needs a quarterback and needs more game breakers.
Well, here's the thing, and that's a great point, Huss. Why not trade down? Like, again, it would suck to miss out on Harrison
Well,
Jr.
you need
And
to
as a
be
Bills
willing to,
fan,
you need to be willing not to take that guy. I mean, like,
exactly. And as a Bills fan, I've had, a lot of trauma when it comes to guys that have passed up or trading down. Heck, Patrick Mahomes is a fine case. And yes, I'm quite happy with Josh Allen, but would Patrick Mahomes be a little bit better? Yeah, I think so.
it was the
but
Bills
hindsight
pick.
is
It was the Bills pick.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
To
It was their
select
pick.
that.
It was their pick. But if you trade down, even if you trade down one pick, maybe you get a guy like Brock Bowers. And I know this is not the sexiest pick. If you trade down even further, I know I'm biased with Notre Dame, but they're pretty damn good at producing studs on the O-line. And Joe Alt might be one of the best prospects Notre Dame has put out in very recent years. And it seems like every single year they've got a great prospect coming out. Joe Alt, like you take him at 7. Again, I know that's not the sexy pick, but is that not the Patriot way? Is that not the Patriot way, going against the grain and gather some more picks, build for the future? Because again, Jake, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, doesn't matter if you take Williams this year or you take Daniels or you take Harrison, the team is not going to be good next year. You're going to get another good pick.
The Patriot way has been not drafting very well. And Jake, I'm sure, I mean, these are big decisions to make, because you have this significant move off of the Belichick era. And I think there is going to be some rope for Mayo and, the guys that are making decisions. But I mean, you only have an opportunity to get a pick like this so often, hopefully, and measuring the need to get your quarterback, if that guy is available, as opposed to a Marvin Harrison, or potentially what you could do if you move down, to me, really intriguing when it comes to a team that's been so good for so long that now suddenly finds themselves picking 3rd overall.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Gerard Mayo was he was raised in the Patriot way, but you wonder how much of that is going to be the Belichick way to the Mayo way, and I'm sure it'll look a little different. I mean, I'm hoping the drafting goes a little differently than it's gone. Especially recently. If you remember some of the Patriots picks, it hasn't been great. Let's say in the last 6-7 years in terms of drafting. Obviously, when they still had Brady, things were still sunshine and rainbows. I just don't know if I can spend another year watching Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, and maybe it'll be one of those things where I'm just not watching Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, and I'm just hoping for another high pick so I can, really dive back into. Listen, I'm not going to complain as a Patriots fan. I've had more than enough, winning in my day. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and be a big baby and cry about how bad the last couple of years have been, because it is what it is. Just like every other team, you're going to have to try to rebuild. And, it's nice when you turn it around fast. For instance, a team like Houston, but, it's not necessarily, recipe for success to be turned around within a year or two. The defense was great last year. I think that's one thing you can point to in the Patriots. They weren't really struggling, in terms of giving up points. They just couldn't score the points. And, some of the games got a little out of hand, but, you build the offense up a little bit. I know Mayo said they were, they're going to be willing to spend in free agency. So, see what they come back with. Like I said, I wouldn't want to rush it. I'd be totally okay with just, like Pat said, best player available at 3. Or you move down, like you guys also mentioned, take the best available player at, if it's 7 or 8.
To me, they do that. Yeah. To me, they do that if there's a quarterback that they like, that they know will probably be there. I mean, I'm sort of with Pat. I mean, passing on Harrison, and I mean, maybe for the Patriots, getting a veteran quarterback in on one of those bridge deals, a 2 or a 3-year deal, to draft maybe a later guy this year, see what happens, an earlier guy next year, to take you through. I mean, you look at what Baker Mayfield did to resuscitate his career and what he brought to a team like New England. I mean, and listen, NFL, it happens every single year. We see teams make big turnarounds, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens in New England. Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. We got a good crew in here today. We will be getting into this big hockey slate coming up in just a minute. Just quickly,
one more quick thing. Sorry, one more quick thing before we transition here. And again, I could talk draft all day. I'm a big college guy. Like I could do this all day. And maybe when we get closer to draft, maybe we do a little bit of a draft special and dive in to some of these picks.
As soon as the odds are out.
As soon as they're out, we'll do it. But for me, I mean, again, like you look at what the Browns were even able to do. Bring in a guy like Flacco. I'm not saying Patriots go out and sign Flacco, but like, why not look to a vet? Like, get Flacco, draft your guy later. Again, like JJ McCarthy, like, does he not seem very Patriot-y? Like, Michigan man, not a
where is he?
game
Where
manager.
is he predicted to go? By the way, like, is he a
depends.
top round guy? I mean, there's a lot of
guys.
I haven't heard him being named like up near the top, but yeah, he does seem like a Patriot guy for sure.
It depends who you look at, and I think so. I think Mayock's got him up like around 15. I'm not too sure, but I haven't seen Kuipers in a while. But then you look at others, and it's like later on in the first round or early second round. A lot of people have different grades on him. He is a guy that I think if you draft him to a team that has a quarterback and kind of let him groom, let him learn more of the Jordan Love. And he's not the same quarterback as Jordan Love. He's not at all. He's actually what I think Patriot fans expected Mac Jones to be, not who Mac Jones is. At least that's kind of what I can see. So I think Mac Jones could have been a better quarterback if they had a situation where he wasn't thrown in the fire almost instantly. And if he had an opportunity to learn under a guy that's been there for a while. What about a Kirk Cousins? What about bringing in a guy like Kirk Cousins and having him and drafting a quarterback later on? I think so too, but
he sounds like
I think the veteran
and Baker. I mean, to me, I would take Baker on any of these teams that don't have a quarterback. I would imagine that Tampa will do what they can do to keep him there. But outside of those guys,
is his contract done at the end of this?
Yeah,
this
I think he was just on a 1-year prove it deal, and he definitely proved it. So he's back. So that's another guy.
I would absolutely hate Baker. I would hate Baker in a Patriots uniform, man. Oh, that would be awful because I'm starting to love Baker. I hated him because he was in Oklahoma and him being like, chip on his shoulder. Everyone doubted me, even though you're a Heisman winner and a first overall draft pick. But then he became more and more likable as that shine came off him. With the Panthers, being on the scout team on defense, headbutting guys in the face. What he was able to do here with Tampa. Like, I like Baker now. I would hate to have to start hating him again if he went to the Patriots. It would suck.
Hey, that's just the way things work. It's funny we brought this up, and this was not planned, but we were just getting into a little bit of quickly draft talk. Mel Kiper just dropped his mock. I don't know whether this is number one, but you've got the Bears taking Williams at 1. The Commanders going with Jalen Daniels at 2. And then the Patriots taking Drake May at 3, and Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cardinals at number 4, and then the Chargers jumping on Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, at 5. I'm just going to run down here and see any other quarterbacks that they have planned in the first round. I'm going down now to 15. No, okay, JJ McCarthy to Seattle at 16. So, okay, he obviously is a first round, a player that they think is going to be available in the first round. And then there's always teams late in the first round that often will jump at a quarterback. You get that 5th year, but as of right now, it doesn't look like anymore. So they've got 4 now, and that's interesting. JJ McCarthy, number 4 on the list. I know that we'll have plenty of time to talk draft once the season is over. and then we get closer to it. And then you guys will have odds up there. I mean, betting on the draft has been one of the funnest things we've done in the lock shop the last couple of years.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. You guys have done a really good job too. You've had a lot of success with that. So I will say though, so that's his mock. I just checked his big board. He has Harrison at number 2 on his big board. And that's the one thing that I think that Kuiper does better than almost anyone in the biz is his big board and his mock. His mock's not always, spot on. And yeah, he's missed with some of his
mocks. I mean,
there's trade, and I agree with you, Huss. I think we might need to get maybe even like a prop for how many trades in the first round, how far down a team potentially could trade, because I do really feel like, there's an opportunity. What about, again, okay, one more thing for me about the draft. What about a guy like Penix? Like he's not quite Williams, May, or Daniels, but he's right in the next tier with McCarthy and Bo Nix. Like, I think he's got to be in the mix there.
I think the Patriots might be able to get that. Like, if they took Harrison Jr. at 3, one of those guys I think very well might be available for them at the top of their second round.
Yeah, why not? Like, why not? I've seen Penix, late first rounder, but depending on how the other quarterbacks fall, who's there, who's trading up, who's trading down, you might be able to get Penix there. You might be able to get JJ McCarthy at the start of the second round. Once you get into Bo Nix, I think you're in trouble. But I mean, Penix, when you go off of arm talent alone, man, I know he was awful the last time we saw him play football, but he's a talented quarterback.
No, there's no doubt about that. All right. Hey, shout out to everybody in chat. Yes, I do see Big Maple's dropping a whole bunch of guys to make the cut. I love it. Tomorrow we'll get into picks for the Farmers Open. Hey, by the way, quick shout out to our guy, Winnipeg's Aaron Cockrell.
Yeah.
4th at the DP Tour in Dubai. He picked up, I think he made about $500,000 Canadian, 330,000 euros, finishing only behind Rory, Shank, and Cam Young. Huge Impressive start to the season. He's actually going to come in on Winnipeg Sports Talk next week. I'll look forward to that. Just before we dive into the hockey, which will dominate our conversations, for you tennis folks, we're down to the good stuff at the Aussie Open right now. We've got the one semifinal, I believe, set with Djokovic and Sinner. Quarters, Medvedev, Hurkacz, Medvedev minus 222, and of course, Carlos Alcaraz Garfa, a huge favorite on the men's side in his quarter, I should say, at minus 455. Watch some of the women's matchups last night. They were outstanding. Coco Gauff's on to the semis. She's an underdog against Sabalenka. The 2 matchups coming up later on today. Noskova versus Yastremska. Not as familiar with those players. Noskova minus 172. And Anna Kalinskaya against Zhang. Kalinskaya used to go with Kyrgios. Absolutely.
That's why that name sounds.
Yeah. You probably just seen her on Instagram or something like that. But turning some heads in a number of ways at this tournament, although she is an underdog. So if you want to get in on those Aussie Open singles, quarters, and semis, those are up there right now.
Jake, did you want to maybe talk about what we were talking about today about the Aussie Open? I don't know. I can start the conversation in us. Just, this is not even us trying to pretend we're tennis sharps or anything. It's just looking at numbers, and it was just really confusing. And maybe you can figure out why this is the case. But Joker is only minus 200 against Sinner. I know Sinner is a great player. But then when you look at the tournament winner odds, Djokovic is minus 105. And when you look at Alcaraz, he's minus 455 to beat Zverev. Then when you look at him to win the tournament, it's at all the way up to plus 255. And Jake was saying, even when the odds came out to start the tournament, it probably was not even that much higher. Makes sense of this, because for me, Alcaraz at plus 255 is screaming at me in the face to hit that one up.
Yeah, I'll admit I hadn't really taken a look, but listen, I think Sinner's one of the top players now, and I think he's really battled Djokovic hard, so that must be why Djokovic isn't a bigger favorite. But man, I mean, you look at Alcaraz. Now, keep in mind he's got to play one more match. I think Joker's
Yes,
won his
true.
quarter, so that is part of it. But I mean, Alcaraz is a massive favorite in this matchup. Will likely be meeting the winner of Hurkacz and Medvedev. It's probably going to be Joker and Alcaraz. If you do like Alcaraz, I think now's the time to bet him for sure, because that number goes down significantly even after winning a minus 455 game, and then you get into the semis. You got any insight on the tennis, Jake, on that?
No, I was Pat and I had had that discussion earlier. About kind of where Alcaraz sits in terms of winning it all, and I mean, anyone but Joker is where I'd be betting. There's a good chance he could get upset against Sinner, and there's just really no. Even if you look at the women's side, there's just no value in taking the top pick right now. I think Joker's minus 105, Sabalenka minus 115. So I think if you're going to bet the rest of the way, if you're going to bet a future, it would probably be one of those next two or three on both sides, men's and women's.
Alcaraz is that dude, though. I mean, if you're talking about who's going to be able to challenge Joker, it's definitely him.
Yeah.
So there might be some good value on the board. We'll get to the golf picks tomorrow, but there's plenty up right now at Coolbet if you want to take a look at it. But first off, let me just mention how angry all of us are. Bruce Cassidy was all of us last night after Vegas lost was it a shootout or overtime to Jersey? I can't recall, but it was overtime. Here's and this was all of us in the chat after we got the under in the Jet game. The Panthers came through, won. Here's Bruce Cassidy after their 6-5 overtime loss in Newark. We basically played a beer league game. We thought it was preseason, I guess. Careless, disrespectful to the game and to the lock shop. We have Vector D Corps. They're not as good as a group tonight. Jake, it's always tough to lose in that fashion, but I have to admit I felt a little bit better losing the partner parlay after hearing Bruce Cassidy air his team out for losing to the Devils in overtime and blowing that 5-4 lead.
Yeah, listen, I was on. I don't think I jumped on our lock shop yesterday, but I was on Vegas after we spoke about it. And, I was tracking the whole game. I think they kind of kept that one goal cushion all game. And then I saw that it was going overtime, and I was like, okay, well, you know how the overtime works in the NHL. It's a bit of a nightmare in terms of your bets because it really can go either way. And then, it doesn't fall our way. And, it sucks to lose one early in the week, but that's why we got tonight, Huss. It's time to bounce back.
Well, exactly. And we're right back at it. And what do we have here? We got 9 games on the slate. So let's quickly run down the slate and the odds. Lock shoppers in the chat, fire out your favorites as we go through these. Dallas is in Detroit. Dallas minus 155 favorites. The Red Wings are plus 131. Sens and Habs going back at it, this time in Montreal. Ottawa rolled them last week. Ottawa a minus 138 favorite and Montreal plus 117. Pretty much a pick 'em. Lightning minus 110, Lightning minus 107, Flyers minus 110 in Philly. Vegas back at it tonight against Patrick Roy and the New York Islanders. God, I'm looking forward to seeing Roy do his thing on the Islanders bench. New York minus 156 favorites. Vegas played last night. Angry coach, angry lock shoppers, plus 132 for Vegas. The Caps are in Minnesota to take on the Wild. Minnesota's minus 168. Neither of these teams are very good. I guess I shouldn't be so surprised that Washington is plus 142. Calgary's at home to the Blues. Calgary's a pretty big favorite, minus 176. Blues plus 148. And then we've got the Oilers. Massive favorites at home. Streaking up to the top of the Western Conference standings. Minus 365 for for Edmonton. and Columbus plus 290. Puck line in this game minus 2.5. Those heavy puck lines have been tough to come by. We saw what happened to the Kings last night, losing to the Sharks in the extra frame. But 2 late games on the coast. Buffalo's in Anaheim. Buffalo minus 156 favorites. Anaheim plus 132. And the Rangers in San Jose taking on the Sharks, who played last night, as we just mentioned. Rangers minus 362 faves. And the Sharks at plus 190. You know, just before we make these picks, let me just pull up the starting goaltenders, or at least what we know right now. Going over to our trusty services at Daily Faceoff. Vasilevsky unconfirmed. Urson in for Philly. I can tell you, I know he's not the starter. He's been great. He stoned the Jets last week to end their winning streak here in Winnipeg. So not a big drop-off, I think, in net for Philly. Jake Allen's going for Montreal. Korpisalo likely. Ottinger and Lyon are the matchup for Dallas and Detroit in the Motor City. Aiden Hills penciled in as likely. Sorokin is confirmed for the New York Islanders. It's going to be Gustafsson versus Kemper in the Wild Capitals matchup. They've got Stuart Skinner as likely. Elvis Merzlikins is unconfirmed for St. Louis. Obviously, these later games are a little tougher. Jacob Markstrom will start for Calgary. They're expecting Binnington, but that's unconfirmed. And no goalies as of yet, but I mean, they're leaning towards Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and John Gibson. We'll wait to see on that one. And the same thing with Shesterkin and Blackwood for the late game. So lots of options right now, fellas, to get on it. Patty, why don't we start with you? You got a team or two, a money line play that stands out to you tonight at a good number?
Nothing on money line, but I'm really sinking my teeth in, and I don't know why. But this Sens Habs game is screaming me in the face. Montreal, man, has been just putrid over the last few games. 15 goals against in the last 2, which is absolutely insane. And when you consider that 6 of them were against this very Ottawa team. So, and Ottawa, nothing to hang their hat on as well. You mentioned Korpisalo. It doesn't matter who's starting. They struggle to keep the puck out of their net. Over 6.5 at minus 134. A little bit juicy for me, but I think that's my best bet. And I know I'm gonna need some goals to come from somewhere. It's gonna come from the Sens side, but I think the Habs and Cole Caulfield. I mean, he has been absolutely on fire. 5 straight games with a goal. So I like him to score, but I also like him to hit his over 3.5 shots. I think he's done it in, let me just pull up his game log again. I didn't write it down, but 2 straight games and 5 of the last 7 games that he's hit this total, including a couple of games where he had 7, but last 2 games, he's had 4 shots. So Caulfield, goal, Caulfield, 3.5 shots, and give me the over between these 2 lowly Canadian teams. And you know what? Let's do it. Vegas Golden Knights, money line on a bounce back. Their coach just tore them a shred, gave them the old pee-pee whack to the media. You better believe they're going to have a bounce back. I know it's off a back-to-back. They're going up against an Islanders team who, yes, I know they have a new coach, but let's be honest, Patrick Waugh is not saving this team here. Will he put them in the right direction? Possibly, but the Islanders are still the Islanders. This Vegas team maybe has been overperforming with a lot of guys out of the lineup, but anytime a coach goes out, and especially a coach that has a lot of respect of the locker room, you're going to expect a bounce back. So I know I let the lock shoppers down with this pick. You can put your faith back into me at plus 132. And for those that did ride the lock shop partner parlay, if you're in the nasty chat right now, I'm going to throw this out here. Send us a photo on Twitter of your losing ticket. Take a screenshot of the losing ticket. Tag me, tag Huss, tag the lock shop, and tag Jake. Give us your username, and we'll give you a little bit of a sorry gift in your Coolbet account. Let's just leave it at that.
For Bruce Cassidy and our friends at Coolbet, that's great. The only thing that really worries me about Vegas right now, mean, they can play better, but you have no Shea Theodore, no Carlson, no Carrier, and no Eichel. And I mean, Hill's still on the IR. They expect him to go today, so I imagine that might be a move a little bit later on. But Vegas is in a tough spot. Jake, what about you? What sticks out to you when you look at tonight's big 9-game slate in the NHL?
Yeah, listen, I talked heavy on home dogs yesterday. That being said, I don't mind the Red Wings plus 131. I know, Dallas, you got Ottinger, it's a solid team, but the Red Wings haven't been too bad as of late. I was just looking here. Hold on, sorry. I think they're like 7-2-1 in their last 10, so they've really picked it up. Home game against the Stars, I don't mind that. Maybe not for a parlay. I go down the list. Sabres, I don't mind. Minus 156. Nothing crazy with the Sabres. They're 5-3 in January, but they have beaten some bad teams. They beat Chicago 3-0. They beat San Jose 3-0. I would lump Anaheim into one of those bad teams. And, just as much as I talked about home dogs, I don't really mind the Sabres on the road in Anaheim. They haven't been playing the worst of hockey as of late. Not necessarily the best of hockey either, but they tend to beat those bad teams, and that's probably where I lie. So, if I'm thinking parlay, I'm probably saying Sabres as my pick, but I also don't mind the Red Wings maybe as a single at home against the Stars tonight.
You know what? I'm with you on Buffalo. I already had that pegged as one of the plays that I'd be making tonight. This Philly Tampa game is really interesting. Now, the Lightning are coming off a 2-1 loss to the Wings, but had won 5 games in a row before that. Philly they came back home. They crushed the Dallas 5-1 in their first game, but they've sort of fallen off of it, and they've given up 12 goals in their last 2 games. They lost 7-4 to the Avalanche, and then 5-3 to the Ottawa Senators. Now, I know some guys in Ottawa we talked about yesterday. They said that was one of the best games Ottawa's played all year. So the Sens seem to have a little bit of momentum right now. But you do wonder if this is maybe a little bit of reality hitting the Philadelphia Flyers from where we expected them to be at the beginning of the season. They've been so good at home. They haven't, good on the road. They haven't been as good at home. And this game, essentially a pick 'em right now. I know some guys in the chat quickly are talking about this Oiler game. And Duck Dad, I believe, mentioning that McDavid hasn't scored in four games. This is a great time to get back on the score sheet for Connor McDavid. And a McDavid goal minus 126 tonight. Everything's going the Oilers' way right now. Kind of funny that they're able to even find ways to win when Connor McDavid isn't scoring. But I don't mind that lean from Duck Dad on a Connor McDavid goal tonight. And I know the guys were talking about maybe a potential EST parlay with a Nuge point and a Bouchard point and a Connor McDavid goal and another Oiler win. That's maybe something we can put together, if you just want to throw that out for EST as put together by the Nasty Chat. McDavid also plus 380 for the first goal scorer tonight. If you're going to bet McDavid to score, I wouldn't even mind maybe a little bit of a sprinkle on the first goal scorer for the game tonight. And I guess we could also look at over 1.5. Only 330 for McDavid. Just goes to show you how good he is. And 11-1 on a hat trick. Draisaitl 13-1. It just speaks to how high octane the Oilers are right now, because those hat trick numbers and 2-goal numbers for literally any other team in the league other than maybe Austin Matthews are significantly higher than what they are for Edmonton. But I mean, Jake, when the guys are putting this together, they know that, especially against a team like Columbus, the book needs to prepare for plenty of red lights to be on behind the visiting goaltender.
Well, when you've won 13 in a row, you probably deserve that respect, right? So, yeah, EST hasn't been as fun to listen to, I'll say, as of late with how good the Oilers have been. No offense to the Oilers fans.
Oh, remember the good old days of late October?
Oh, yes.
Firing a coach. I mean, listen, those were fire shows. I remember popping on after the Sharks loss, and Gazzola had he had like 1,400 people live in the YouTube chat. Everyone was losing it, and Lo and
best.
behold, McDavid and the boys got it together. They are absolutely steamrolling right now and look to extend that streak tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. I don't mind Tampa tonight in this game against Philly, considering the way both teams have played as of late. I'm kind of with the Ottawa Senators too, if we wanted to go that, but I do like Pat. I do like the over in the Ottawa game. And Jake, I really do like this. I mean, as far as a home dog right now, Dallas has just been very middling over the last little while. And you've got Lyon, who's playing great goal right now. He's really sort of gone and just grabbed that number one job right now for the Detroit Red Wings. We could look at the Wild, I guess, today against the Capitals, but minus 168, that's a game that I think could really go either way. Very nervous about putting Vegas on it, just with the back-to-back on the other side. And then, of course, we've got the Calgary Flames. I'm gonna put in Buffalo. Let's see where we're at here. If we put in Buffalo, if we put in the over in Montreal, and Ottawa, we're at plus 187. If we throw in, if we go Detroit on that, we get to plus 131, and I do like Detroit tonight. That gets us to plus 562. We're basically right back in that area we were yesterday.
Yeah.
With our near miss off the partner parlay.
Yeah, listen, obviously I'm on board. I mean, Wings and Sabres are both two of my favorite picks. So I think, Patty's over in there. If we're all vibing with it, then that's where we're going to go. I see Ev Dog is actually in our usual document here where we put all the exclusives together. So I imagine once we do make a final decision, that's going to be up before we know it.
Perfect. Well, I mean, Pat, you like that over? I mean, you have any qualms with the Wings as a home dog at Buffalo and Anaheim a little later on tonight?
Nope. Buffalo needs some good vibes. Buffalo needs some good vibes right now. That city's been hurting over the last 48 hours. So I'm good with that. Folks, I'm already receiving some tweets with your losing tickets. So keep those coming in. Make sure you give us our username. We'll give you a little present in your Coolbet account. Consider that a sorry from me. Consider that a sorry from the Lock Shop and of course the Vegas Golden Knights. Yes. And I'm a dummy. I'm going back to the well. It's probably gonna hurt us. That's why it's not on the parlay. But us tomorrow, you guys are doing golf picks, right?
Tomorrow, golf.
I don't know if I'm coming in. I don't know if I'm back on, but if not, I will send Dusty my picks because this feels like the first real big tourney of the golf season. They got some big names. They got some great value out there on the board, and already the nasty chat humming for some picks. So I've already got some bets in.
Just on that, I'm just looking at the odds right now. I mean, you've got your winners, top 5s, top 10s, top 20s there. Make the cut options as well. I know there was looking at a big nasty chat, make the cut parlay, which is always fun. But Xander's the favorite at 9-1. Cantlay and Morikawa at 11. Max Homa at 12. And then you get into the 20s. Aberg at 20. Minwoo, 22. Sungjae Im, 22. Jay Day, Tony Finau, 25, and Keegan Bradley at 28. I do seem to remember Tony's had good performances at the Farmers before. I'm sure he'll be on a card, but we'll look for that and maybe a couple of exclusives, Pat. If you can get those done before the show, or even just jump in for the last 15 minutes so we can kind of dive into golf after Dusty gets back, and we'll certainly have lots to talk about with him when he comes back. But yes, tomorrow we will have Farmers picks, and tomorrow, no, you should come for sure tomorrow for at least part of the show because it's the first of two between the Jets and the Maple Leafs. And
yes,
Jets got to start a new streak tomorrow. The big question is as to whether Mark Scheifele is going to be able to get back in the lineup, as well as Gabe Vilardi, who they were really sort of undermanned yesterday, getting worked a bit by the Boston Bruins. But yes, Jets Leafs talk tomorrow on the program. Farmers Insurance open picks on the Lock Shop tomorrow. Dusty back tomorrow. And hopefully we can come. We were so close yesterday. We just take that next step and make this 3-gamer. Again, we like Detroit at home as a home dog against Dallas. Over 6.5 in the Habs Montreal in the Habs Ottawa game, and the Sabres money line at -156 in Anaheim against the Ducks. Boys, great stuff as always. Look, Jake, you got something for the peeps?
Sorry, yeah, just a few quick things before we go off here. Lock Shop Partner Parlays online, +650.
Let's go.
The one from, I believe, Duck Dad, EST parlay, I just put it under the Lock Shop section, so it'll be a nasty chat parlay. McDavid, 1+ goal. Bouchard and RNH, both 1+ points. Oilers to win in reg, so that'll be your Oilers parlay for tonight. And then we are working on the golf parlay as well. Just keep an eye out, probably sometime this afternoon from our golf guys. So the big make the cut parlay. So I know a lot of guys will be on that one as well.
Love it. Well, I'm locked and loaded and in at +650 on our Lock Shop Partner parlay today. And you know what? Just for you guys in the chat, there's no Jet game tonight. I'll jump on that Oiler one as well because they just seem to win every night, and I kind of like the picks that you guys fired out. And I will put a sprinkle on a McDavid goal. I've made stupider bets in my life than Connor McDavid to score. I'll tell you that much. Fellas, have a good one. Chat. We'll see you tomorrow. Dusty will be back. Looking forward to that. Have a good one. And for those of you that want to hang with us more, we'll be getting it going on Winnipeg Sports Talk over on the WST channel in about 10 minutes. Fellas, thanks as always. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
See ya.